Okay. Oh, don't do that crap. Why is it focus? No, it work. All right. Oh, one viewer. All right. What's that? How do I set that? All right. So just taking a minute to try and figure out settings here with my camera, because for some reason it continues. I have autofocus off. So it shouldn't be losing focus. We pull away. All right, perfect. Cool. All right, let's see here. Econ 104. So hopefully we actually get some questions, because my my history in economics is not that strong. Oh, sorry. Got a new setup here, so it's not 100% perfect. Give it a couple of minutes, see who shows up. If nobody, then we'll start here in a couple of minutes. All right. So, yeah, anyone popping in, just feel free to say something in chat, just so I know who you are, who's here. Hopefully get, a few people with some questions to make this a more interesting video rather than me just droning on and on and on. So, and it is hotter than hell here in the shop. Last time I checked, the temperature was 102. So I've got windows open, fan going. So yeah, hopefully I don't die. All right, kill that. Hey, what's going on, man? Oh, all right. 2 viewers. 3 o'clock. Oh, let's kick some ass. So basic economics. So everyone knows D&D. Gold pieces, silver pieces, copper pieces. You got gems worth so many gold pieces. It's a very common thread. Gold is king. Everything seems to be based off of gold. So what, gold equals, and depending upon the source material that you read, a single gold piece is the equivalent. I've seen somewhere it's a day's wages, somewhere it's a week's wages, somewhere it's a month's wages. It all depends on what you read. But let's say, just for the sheer, let's say the gold equals 1 day's wage. 1 gold equals 1 day's wage. Cool. Okay. So we, by that we can go ahead and figure out, housing, meals, how much a horse should cost, based on how long you got to work to earn it. It kind of makes it a little more real. What if there's no gold? What if gold is not in existence where you are traveling? They're not going to use it. What are they going to use? Perhaps gems, or some other precious metal, or something like that. So what are your players going to do if they show up in this area and all of their money's tied up in a resource that these people just don't care about? It's not precious to them. You look at, and some people are going to say this is a horrific movie, Waterworld. There's two precious commodities: soil for growing stuff and fresh water. In a situation where you've got neither, those are going to be very, you need to grow food, you need to survive. You look at, some other places, and there was a campaign that I played in, Dark Sun, where the guy running it, his most precious commodity were shells. These iridescent shells that are only found on one specific type of beast. And literally, to make money, you had to go hunt these things down and kill them. And hopefully without doing too much damage. So your economy does not have to revolve around gold or even gems or any of it. What if money wasn't the issue? What if it favors? All right, so you want a horse. All right, but I'll tell you what. You come, you help me fix the stable. You help me put up some fencing. Maybe work with me for about, 3-4 days. I'll give you a horse. Cool. It could be that. It could be anything you want it to be. Now, if you're, let's say this is a coastline. There's a river going up. Yeah, mountains right here. Just this area is, kind of cut off from the rest of the world, right? You got a city over here. Well, they've got fishing villages all along here. And they got fields where they're growing crops. They've got fresh water here. So what do they need? What's going to be something that they would hold valuable? It could be information. They're cut off. They don't know what's going on. So maybe all these travelers, they want stories, they want information, and they're willing to give food, drink, lodging, transportation just for information. Who's the current king? Has anyone heard anything about that dragon that we saw flying overhead, 3 years ago? Something they want to know. So the area that the players are in can have a lot to do with it. Maybe in mines, and what they're pulling out is copper. So they have an excess of copper. You go in trying to spend copper coins when these people are copper cookware, copper everything. It's not worth much. You bring them something they've never seen before, like maybe really good steel, or something that they can use, ready-made tools that are sharper, harder, and tougher than what they've been using. That's going to be valuable. So don't think that the gold piece, the platinum, the silver, even the copper is the end all be all. Create your own stuff. Maybe in the D&D world, 1 gold is equal to a gallon of water. Fresh, ready to go drinking water. A lot harder to carry around, but for those players who can create food and water with a spell, or maybe you're running a campaign where your character knows how to do, basically set up a desalination plant, turn salt water into fresh water, using whatever methods. A guy like that could be king if he controls that, which, that would work best on, like, say, a remote island with very little access to fresh water. Maybe it's this place has been besieged by all these various monsters, gnolls, goblins, orcs, what have you, forever. And so they may be, hey, you want a night's lodging and a meal? Bring me 3 goblin scalps. Bring me a gnoll head and I'll give you a horse. So they go off trophies. You show that you're helping them take care of a problem, they're going to reward you. Very basic, very simple. So wasn't sure if anyone was actually hearing me. So, but everything looks good. So, all right. So that's the basics of that. Now, so it all comes down to supply and demand. All right. You want it. Who's got it? How are you going to afford it? All right. Cool. All right. So, supply and demand. Now, in a situation like this, let's say you go to one of these remote islands. Fresh water is key. You find out that on this island, there's a guy who excels at making magic weapons. Unusual magic weapons are mostly wood, bone, shells, very little metal, but he really is so supreme at just pumping magic into it and making it stick. So you gather up gems and you gather up all this other stuff and you sail out there and you find him. And you explain what you're looking for. You want a monster slaying weapon to take out this dragon that's been just harassing a city. So he agrees to make it. Only problem is he doesn't give a damn about gold, gems, silver, none of it. You've got nothing he wants. What are you going to do? Well, you got to find out what he wants. Because he has the supply. Now he gets to demand it. What does he want? He wants a source of fresh water on his island. Well, now you've got to figure out how to do that. Maybe you and your DM can work out something to where you can create a spring of fresh water flowing from somewhere near his house, this guy's hut. Something. But it's not always going to be what the players expect. They don't know, and that's one thing that I kind of find funny when you go through a lot of the books and the modules and stuff is it's all gold. It's all precious metals. I ran one where Dragon didn't care about the shinies. He collected bones and skulls and, sometimes just by virtue of where he was collecting them, he gathered, armor and weapons and some other magic items that were a little hardier, that didn't get damaged as easily when he was killing his prey. So you go through his lair, and it's an avatar. It's horrific. It's partially decayed flesh. It's bone. It's blood. It's nasty and it smells, but he loves it. It's his. He fought for every single thing he's got in there. Kind of would throw your players off a little bit. They go in expecting a pile of gold, they get a pile of bones. But the way I would run it, here's the switch. That dragon, he's also a necromancer. If he's got 1,000 years of skeletons and bodies and all this other stuff laying there, he's got an army at his disposal if he chooses. It could be fun. So that's what you want to figure out, is wherever your players are going, what resource do the locals covet? And there's nothing wrong with it being gold or gems or anything like that, but it doesn't always have to be that. So that's something to think about. And if anyone has any questions about this or thoughts or anything like that, follow the link that you found here. Comment on the video. Questions, suggestions, anything like that, and we'll cover it again. I'll go back over it as many times as you guys want, as long as it's interesting for you. It's once a week, as long as I can talk, and we'll take care of it. So that's my thoughts on basic economics, is just simply figure out what the locals desire for money. Like I said, it doesn't have to be gold, gems, it doesn't have to actually be money. It could be work for it. It could be water. It could be anything. But this is kind of helps with also another thing I want to talk about is how much your players actually know. Because you guys have seen, I'm working off of, it could be, exactly. Yes, it could definitely be, meat, pelts for clothing and bedding. Yeah, furs. Think about back, colonial days here in the States. Fur trapping was the huge trade. And so people would pay you for pounds and tons of, fur and pelt and meat and bone for crafting. That was the big money thing. Then, of course, they discovered actual money and went from there. But you've seen me using the map of Australia to kind of go over regions and geographies and whatnot. But you kind of want it as far as, because your players may not always understand the gold thing too, depending on their background. But you want to figure out where the players are from, or at least where they're starting your adventure. So, you may need a little bit of backstory about how they got there. So, if you've got the whole coast of Australia that I did, and it comes down eventually here, there's a river. And that travels up there, and then this went this way. We had a city here, and there were mountains up here. Now, when you make your map, you want to consider scale. As in, what's a day's ride? What's a week's ride? Or 10-day, depending on how you have it set up. Because if your players are new to this entire area, and mine will be, they've never been here before, they'll end up somewhere like this, a small coastal town. And that's where they're going to begin gathering information about what's around them. So perhaps, let's say they're here and it's a small fishing village. These guys might really only know this big of an area, because that's as far as any of them have really traveled. So they know that there's a village up here, There's another one down here, down here. They know that there's mountains here. But that's all they really know, because they don't ever travel far from home. So you go up here and they meet someone else who knows this much. He travels a little more, which leads to more towns, more places to sightsee, more stuff. And so once you figure out a range that these people know, you're going to be able to really dictate how quickly your players acquire information. And you can kind of help steer them where you want them to go, as much as players can actually be led anywhere. Which may also say, you know, you meet this guy and he's going to say, yes, this great, this wizard lives up here. He's extremely powerful, but don't take him your gold because he doesn't care. What? And that's where, you know, different economy. This guy doesn't care about gold. He can make it himself. So, you know, you got to figure out what he does want. Maybe this wizard knows a lot more about what's on the other side of these mountains. And what he wants is detailed maps. He wants information. He wants samples, because he's actually like a research guy, like a scientist almost. So, you know, to get what you want, you got to give him what he wants. That's simple. It's a very basic thing, because I love creating big maps. The whole world, I'm actually working on a globe of the entire planet that I'm making. But my players are not going to know that entire world. So I'm going to have to make successfully further zoomed in maps to show them where they're at and what they know. So that's going to be the excitement for me, is they're going to have to explore to get done what needs to be done. So I'm actually going to cut this one a hair short. I'm actually going to cut here. It is hotter than Hades out here, and my air conditioning is in the house. So like I said, if you have any questions, comments, issues you want me to go over, let me know. If you want to do a Google Hangout at some point and go over this kind of stuff, we'll do that. That's fine with me. We won't I won't necessarily broadcast it. We'll get together, make maps, and talk about world building and that kind of crap. Because, you know, it's something I'm interested in, and I love hearing other people's opinions. All right. All right. Have a good one.